My guest today is writer-director Nebosha Slijepc, and he is an award-winning filmmaker with films such as Gangster of Love, which became one of the biggest box office hits in Croatia. And then his documentary feature, Serbia, was shortlisted back in 2018 for the European Film Awards and has won numerous accolades, among them the Heart of Sarajevo Award, as well as the Audience Award at the Sarajevo Film Festival. But we're here today to discuss his Oscar-qualified Cannes Film Festival Palme d'Or winning short film, The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent, based on a true story that happened in 1993 of a passenger train traveling from Belgrade to Bar when it is stopped by paramilitary forces in an ethnic cleansing operation. There we meet the man who quite literally could remain silent and stands for his rights as well as others on board, leaving witness to this horrific form of treatment and shock. Only one man out of 500 passengers dares to stand up to them. This is the true story of a man who could not remain silent. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome this year's Palme d'Or winner from the Cannes Film Festival, Nebosha Slijepc, and his Oscar-qualifying short film, The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent, to the show. Welcome, Nebosha. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm great. Thank you. I just have returned from Toronto this morning, so I'm a bit jet lagged, but we had a great screening on Toronto International Film Festival of the film. So yeah, I'm very good. Thank you.
Well, first, I want to say congratulations on winning the Palme d'Or Award at the Cannes Film Festival with your new short film, The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent. And now, how does it feel to be Oscar qualified?
It feels fantastic. It feels a little bit unreal, but I'm very happy because that means that our film will reach much more people than without these accolades. So, and this is what it's all about. You know, it's not about the awards; it's about getting film to the audience. And now we have huge interest from the festivals all over the world, which makes me really happy.
You're going to be very, very busy in the coming months, that's for sure. And your new short film, this is a true story. Where did you learn about the story of Tomo Buzov?
It's a horrible true story, but I was not aware of it because there were many, unfortunately, during the wars in ex-Yugoslavia, there were many horrible stories and many war crimes. And this one was one of the lesser known, I would say, at least in Croatia. So I learned about it only a couple of years ago from a newspaper article that told the story about Tomo Buzov, who was mostly forgotten, and which is actually quite, which I found something that should be corrected, because Tomo Buzov is a real true hero, and I think we need such stories. We need stories of heroes. You know, so this is not a happy story, but it's very inspiring, I would say, because we see one man who was brave enough to speak up when everybody else chose to be silent, to just watch after themselves. But there was one man who was unselfish enough to care for a person sitting next to him in a train, although he did not know him. So Tomo Buzov saved one life. He lost his life in the process, but while doing it. But still, this is a very inspiring story, I think.
It truly is. Now, for you as a writer, how much research did you do on this very specific event?
So this event happened 30 years ago. Some of the kidnappers from the train, some of the killers were caught, and they were put on trial. So there was I got hold of the whole all documents from this trial, which was more than 1,000 pages that I read. This was first-hand testimonies of the people who were on the train as a passengers, and from the relatives of the victims, and from some of the killers. So I read more than 1,000 pages, and most of the dialogue in the film is based on the real words that were spoken in the train. And some of the characters are based on the real characters. Of course, Tomo Buzov is based on a real person, and the other characters are fictionalized but based on people who were on a train. So this film is as close to reality as I could make it.
Wow. I'm impressed because I have seen this film 3 times to watch it, and I watched your film the first time before going back and doing research on Tomo. So I could see the film without any preconceived ideas, just like a normal audience member would do. They would see the film, they would not know the full extent of the story. But I went back and started doing some research myself about Tomo. I loved how you framed the story of Tomo through the eyes of Dragan. Why did you decide to do that instead of from the direct perspective of Tomo himself?
Yeah, that was the first decision I made when I started working on the script, is that we will put the audience in the shoes of someone who was on a train, but who decided to stay silent. And I think that most of us, unfortunately, most of the people who will watch the film, and me for sure, I'm afraid I'm not a hero, and it would be very dishonest to identify with someone who is hero. I think for all of us, it's much more truthful, but also it makes to identify with someone who decided not to speak up. But hopefully, this film makes us think also, all of us who watch the film, for sure us who were making the film, makes us think, what would we do in a situation like that? And what would we do in the future if we find ourselves in a similar situation? Of course, I hope none of us will ever find ourselves in a situation of such extreme that there is war and there is life at risk. But still, I think most of us are too often, I'm afraid, in the situation when we witness some violence, some violence that is not maybe intended against us, so we can choose not to acknowledge it and to look it the other way. It might be even some implicit violence, for example, sexual harassment on a workplace. What do we do if we see our boss harassing our colleague? Do we look away or do we intervene, for example? So I hope that that's all what we were thinking when we were making film, about all these situations when we could look away and maybe we shouldn't.
With the character Dragan, I think the reason why he acted the way he did is because he was there protecting his family. And so out of everybody in that one train car, in that one compartment, I personally probably would have done what Dragan did. Now, why did the soldier that came to their compartment, why did he ask who the family's patron saint was, and why ask about the day his family celebrates that saint? Was some sort of test?
Yeah, that was a test to find out who is Christian, Orthodox Christian in this specific film, but who is Christian and who is not, because it was a genocidal war crime when they were dividing Muslims from Christians, from Orthodox Christians. And that was the test to see if you're a really Christian. And it's not only about your patron saint, you must know the specific date, so that make it harder for someone to pretend, to lie. So this was like a double test, and it really happened. I did not invent it. Unfortunately, it is what happened in that train. That's how the soldiers tested civilians for their religion.
Yeah, that's almost like the test that I have heard from other situations that involved Muslims or those that were living in Muslim countries where certain situations arose. Then the persons are tested and then they're tested as, do you know the Quran? And
Yeah.
so when I saw that scene, I was like, wow, that type of test for many people would make them extremely nervous. Now, the young man Milan, was he Bosniak?
Well, I left it open in the film, you know, so you can, all of us can, of course, the actor who played the role, Silvio Mumelaš, he had his truth, you know, but I gave him the choice to decide. I told him, you can decide if you're a Muslim, if you're a Bosniak, or if you're a Serb or Croat. You know, there's something only you will know, and I don't know what he decided. You know, but the script is written in a way that that nobody knows in the film except Milan. What is Milan by nationality? But he's suspicious enough to the soldiers. The soldiers decide to take him with them. You know, the soldiers think that he's Muslim, so they decide to take him off the train.
Yeah, I had to go back and try to do some study about the history of the area, and because I know that Yugoslavia was split up in multiple countries and regions. Was the ethnic cleansing, was it to remove Bosniaks or Muslims or both from Serbia? And was Bosnia killing their own?
Well, in Yugoslavia, more or less, it's complicated history. But in the war, when the war really started in '92 and '93, when everybody tried to remove everybody. I'm afraid, you know, it was pure nationalistic war, where and Bosnia was maybe the of all the republics was the most complex republic, because it had three more or less well, mathematically not, you know, but equally big nations within it. So Croats and Serbs and Bosniaks, Bosnian Muslims, lived together in Bosnia, and at one point everybody was against everybody, you know, and it was really extremely ugly. And we know this a lot of war crimes were committed. Maybe the worst one was ethnic cleansing of Srebrenica, when Serbian forces killed thousands of Bosniak Muslim men. So it was really a horrible time, horrible time.
Yeah, like you said, it's a complicated history. And I know that last year I was able to talk to a filmmaker who did a short film based in the 1940s in Bosnia between Jews and Muslims, because they were actually living amongst each other in peace. They were friends until the military came in and started taking half the population away. So you're right; it's a very complicated history. But with Tomo Buzov, he was a very brave man. He could have stayed quiet, but he stood up for Milan and the other passengers in the compartment. Um, did he think that his military status was going to give him some sort of equal authority with the militants? But in the end, it really wasn't the case, was it?
Well, it's hard to say what he was thinking, and I don't want to speculate, because out of respect for the man who lost his life. But for sure, he was someone who could not stand injustice, you know. So he couldn't stay silent when he saw the injustice that was done in front of him. So no matter what, you know, I talked to Tomo Buzov's son, Darko, and Darko thinks that his father, his late father, acted out of paternal instinct, you know, because he saw a young man who resented his real son Darko being taken away from the train, and Tomo actually wanted to protect young men that looked like his son, you know. So that's what Darko thinks happened, and I believe him, because he knew his father the best. So
I was kind of wondering because I would replay that scene on the train, and I was trying to think, was Tomo removed from the train because he challenged the soldier, or was he removed because he was actually from one of the other republics of Yugoslavia? Because I know that he was an officer in the I think what's it called, the Yugoslav People's Army.
right. No, he was. I'm pretty sure that he was removed because he challenged the authority of paramilitary troops. Because actually, that's maybe the most dangerous things for paramilitary troops, when someone doesn't respect them. Because they then they lose the power. So, and theoretically, if all 500 passengers stood up and confronted, although they were unarmed, but maybe nobody would be taken from the train, So it's hard to speculate, but we can think what would happen in that if that happened.
And that's one of the reasons why I loved how you filmed this whole story. You allow the audience to watch this whole situation play out, but you also allow us as an audience to maybe try to fill in the blanks or figure things out and come up, and really in the end we're asking why. And I think the power of this film that causes the audience to ask why brings to light this hero of Tomo Buzov. And like you said, it's this story that maybe many people didn't even know about, but now it's shining a light on a man that hopefully all of us will take a little piece of Tomo with us, and that when certain situations arise, we won't remain silent.
Well, actually, another reason why we decided to make this story was because I think, although it happens 30 years ago in Bosnia, which is for most of the world faraway place, I think all of us can identify with this story. I think this is a story that's not something that happened only to some other people 30 years ago. This is the story when we look around us, what happens in the world right now. Well, we see many wars going on, and after I wrote the script, Russia invaded Ukraine. That's what happened, and also there was this horrible massacre done by Hamas in Israel, and then there was this horrible Israel revenge on civilians of Gaza. So a lot of violent things is happening in the world all the time, and even us who are far away from these happenings can ask, should we look away, or is there something we could do in this situation as well?
I completely agree with that. And I want to get into part of this, of the filmmaking part of this film. The cinematography is stunning. And it was the very first thing that caught my eye. Who was your cinematographer?
I had a fantastic cinematographer, Gregor Božić, who is director himself. He did a very successful feature fiction as a director, but also he's a fantastic, as you say, stunning cinematographer. So we had great communication. He understood completely what I wanted to do, and to film in a train car is extremely hard because it's very narrow space, and I wanted to fill it up with people to get this sense of claustrophobia, of how you cannot escape from this space. And it was so narrow that it was very hard to put camera in it, and we wanted also to have camera movement, which made it even harder, so somehow we did it. It was a lot of lying on the floor, beneath the camera. I was hiding all the time somewhere, in the compartments, not to be in the shot. It was we were all of us were very close to each other the whole time, which was not bad because it was February and it was freezing cold. So at least we got each other warm a little bit like that. Yeah. But yes, I couldn't be happier with our cooperation between cinematographer and me. For me, it was like the first thing I said. Of course, the casting is the most important thing in any film. That's what I believe. So I really was happy with casting. But then after that, in this film, cinematographer was the most important person for me, and I was lucky enough to find the right person for that as well.
You captured that the essence and the feeling of a packed train car. Because when with the opening scene, when Dragan comes out into the aisle and he's looking out the window, you framed it to where both sides of him were closed off. You had people coming from the ticket collector. The soldiers were coming on board. Other people were in the aisle trying to figure out why did the train stop. So it's very claustrophobic. But there is this one shot that is a thing of beauty in this film. The camera is on Dragan, but then the camera on Dragan starts to become blurred, and then the camera slowly moves and pans to Tomo when Tomo stands up.
Yeah.
Just that movement of that shot from where it goes from this blurry slight look in the foreground, and then Tomo comes into view. To me, it was almost it's like the turning point in this film.
It is, yeah. Yeah, and the film was built around that moment, and this is I knew that we need a special camera movement for this moment in the film. So somehow we put in the script, we found all the beats and decided each beat got something special, so some special movement that you don't see in the film anywhere else. So there is a special move when we discovered that Milan doesn't have his documents, when he's in the spot. There is a special movement, this horizontal sliding of when we discover who is the real hero in the compartment. That's the shot you were talking about. And then in the end, we turn the direction of camera when the film ends. I don't want to spoil it, but the final circular motion of the camera, is we see the other side of the face of Dragan, because it's something. It's like his life will never be the same. It's only 13 minutes has passed, but his life is changed forever. So, and for everybody in this train, and that was very important in this very narrow space. We had to find some creative solutions how to convey this message visually, not only through storytelling, through dialogue, but also through camera movement and through lighting, of course, and through the directions of camera.
Yeah, I don't want to give the ending away, but I went back and I watched it a few more times, because the ending shot, there is so much within that one shot. I mean, like you said, you filmed Dragan from the other side. And the thing that got me was the appearance of his face. It says so much more. And I think it leaves the audience thinking and pondering. And like you said in the very beginning, what would we have done in that situation? And not only did I like that shot when you panned and Tomo stood up, but that one shot of Dragan, that's probably my second favorite shot in this film.
Well, first, thank you. You're the audience I could only wish for. You watched film so carefully for many times, but I must now highlight my lead actor, Goran Bogdan, who is maybe the best actor from a region, and also he's internationally very well known. I think he was in the third season of Fargo, if I'm not mistaken. So Goran is a fantastic actor, because with him I could reduce the dialogue. I could reduce the gestures, because his face, his when he's acting, he's really so much into it that you can see all the emotions going through his eyes, and actually I rolled the camera in every shot much longer than I planned, because I didn't know what he will do next, and I just wanted to see. I couldn't yell stop, or cut, because I just wanted to see what he will do next, because he was in character. He was not the actor acting Dragan. It was Dragan in this train at this moment. And I had also another fantastic actor, French actor, Alexis Manenti, who speaks for some reason Serbian, Croatian, Bosnian, because he had relatives and he used to spend summers in Croatia, and he learned the language. And he's such a smart and fantastic actor. His role is the role of the soldier, and he brought such an energy of a guy who is extremely dangerous, and who is so dangerous that he can speak very softly. He doesn't have to raise his voice, and that you don't want to mess with him. So he did it so fantastically that with two of them we could do the film that is very quiet in a tone, without music, without nobody shouts. Almost everybody are speaking softly, and still you feel tension and you feel danger. And you need brilliant actors to do that. And I was lucky with them to have them.
You casted this film perfectly. And you're right. I mean, the character Dragan, it was his eyes, it was his movement. You could feel the fear, the uncertainty within his character. He didn't have to say a whole lot for the audience to realize they're all in a very dangerous situation. His acting is Oscar level. The soldier, you're right, he didn't really raise his voice at all. His presence alone on the train, and because he's standing in the doorway of that compartment, that shows that he's the one in control. Because being the soldier standing in the doorway and everybody else in the compartment sitting down, you're technically the prisoner.
Yep.
And so he had control. Your film is what I call a very rare cinematic jewel. I mean, it has the look, the feel of true cinema. How important was it for this particular film to have such a very authentic look and the feel of the time period, but also you captured the tension of the situation, the fear, and again, the uncertainty of the characters?
Well, it was extremely important to try to make it as close as possible to the era, because it was not that long ago. It was 30 years ago, so many people who were on that train are alive now and will watch the film. And also, I remember the trains of that era, So it was. I'm old enough to know how that looked. So somehow we try to make it as truthful as possible in that aspect as well, because it's based on it's not, of course, it's not history lesson. It's a fiction based on a true event, but we must believe it that it's really happening. So we found it was not easy. We found a train car from the era that still looked like it looked in 1995. We found it on a graveyard for trains. Luckily, it was still not cut into the scrap metal, so we saved it. But it couldn't be driven on an open railroad. So we succeeded to move it to the main train station in Zagreb, and we filmed the whole film on the main train station, which is in the middle of the town, but with little help of green screen and with the careful planning of camera angles, we succeeded to make it look like it's in the middle of nowhere in 1993. So it was quite tricky. It was very precise work. I prepared for a month for filming. I had a very precise storyboard, and we tried the whole film with. We first filmed it with cell phone, then with a real camera, but with stand-ins. So in the end, it was 4 days of shooting. That was we already knew perfectly what we are doing, and we could only concentrate on actor's performance.
All right, then let me ask you this, because I keep looking at the film, and because this film was done so well, I couldn't tell. Was this film filmed on real film, or was it done digitally?
Yeah, unfortunately, we did it digitally. It was suited better if it was made on 35 or 16 millimeter stock, but still, for a short film, we had a good budget, but not that big budget. It's hard to finance it completely. So we had to cut corners somewhere. So we decided to do it on digitally and put all the money into costumes, into set dressing, into filming days to get as many 4 filming days, not 3. So I think, and still it looks great. I think, yeah.
It does. It does. I mean, it's done so well that it had me guessing as to what type of camera you actually used for this film. Because you're filming inside of a train car, how big of an issue or problem was the lighting?
It was an issue. We were again lucky. We had a lot of luck with weather because it was beginning of February, but it was sunny most of the day, so we could film with natural light with just some fill-ins, and then towards the end of the day we would put up some artificial sun just to finish the day off. But yeah, you need luck in life always, especially in filmmaking. So at this time we were blessed by luck.
Yeah, there's always with filmmaking, there's always those miracle moments that the filmmaker or the director has to get the film to look exactly like they want it to look. And when you had your film at the Cannes Film Festival, what was the audience's reaction after seeing it?
Well, Cannes audience is maybe the best audience I witnessed anywhere because they are very enthusiastic for every film and very vocal in showing their support or if they don't like it, also you know it. For our film, it was as always very quiet when the film ends because I think. I planned it like that. I wanted audience to sit quietly at least for 30 seconds after the film finishes and to think about what they have seen. And it happened in Cannes as well. But of course, it was world premiere, and all of us we were horribly frightened, by the audience reaction, and then they were very silent for 30 seconds. I thought, oh, it's not good. But then the huge applause broke out, and we get some small ovations at that moment, and then yeah, everything felt better.
I would definitely say that you made a huge impression with that audience, becoming the Palme d'Or winner of the short film category. To me, winning that award is even rarer than winning an Oscar. But now you're Oscar qualified, and this is such a beautiful, stunning film. And ladies and gentlemen, Nebosha Slijepc, Oscar qualified, Cannes Film Festival Palme d'Or winning short film, The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent. Again, this is based on a true story that happened in 1993 of a passenger train traveling from Belgrade to Bar when it is stopped by paramilitary forces in an ethnic cleansing operation. There we meet the man who quite literally could remain silent and stands for his rights as well as the others on board. Leaving witness to this horrific form of treatment and shock, only one man out of 500 passengers dares to stand up to them. This is the true story of a man, Tomo Buzov, who could not remain silent, and he became a hero. This film brings us an unassuming hero. And again, Tomo stood up for his fellow passengers and paid the ultimate price. This film is a cinematic beauty and deserves being Oscar qualified. This film is what winning a possible Oscar is all about. A compelling story, acting that grips the heart and stirs your emotions. The cinematography at this level is very rare in cinema, and when you get the chance to see The Man Who Cannot Remain Silent, you will be like me and not remain silent about how incredible this short film truly is. And I believe we call that a masterpiece. So I want to thank you, Nebosha, for sharing your film with us today.
Thank you for this very, very nice words, and thank you for having me.
You're very, very welcome, and much luck to you with your Oscar run.
Thank you. Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for watching. And hey, you're either going to see me at the movies or from the red carpet.